first step in saving our liberty is to realize how much of it we've lost, how we lost it, and how we will continue to lose it until there is fundamental political change. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Today, as usual, we have an expert panel, of course, to discuss how we can bring about this fundamental political change in Sri Lanka. We've had many discussions about this during the past few years as well, but this discussion is pertinent because of the fact that we are having this discussion in the run-up to a presidential election followed by a general election. This is the time where people can bring about fundamental change in Sri Lanka's political landscape by voting in leaders who will stay true to their word and bring development, prosperity and unity in this beautiful island. To discuss these matters and much more, let's first get to know our panel of guests today. We've got on my far left, President's Counsel U.R. De Silva, Chairman of the Rehabilitation Bureau. A very good evening, sir, and welcome to the show. We've also got with us Dr. Ajit Amarasinghe. He is the Chairman of the United Republic Front. A very good evening, Mr. Amarasinghe, and welcome to the show. We've also got with us, no stranger to the show, Attorney at Law Nuwan Bopage. He's representing the Frontline Socialist Party. Good evening and welcome to the show. And last and certainly not least, we've got President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya. He is the former president of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and also the former chairman of the BOI. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Mr. Jayasuriya, and welcome to the show. So bringing about fundamental political change in Sri Lanka, it's a very subjective thing. Some people think that what's happening right now is great. We don't need to change. Some people think that there is much that needs to be changed. It's broad spectrum. So starting off, I'd like to direct the first question for the opening statements to President's Counsel U.R. De Silva, the chairman of the Rehabilitation Bureau. Now, Mr. De Silva, we speak about bringing fundamental change in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka's political sphere. We had the Aragalaya where people were protesting, saying, you know, we want system change. Now, the Aragalaya happened 2 years ago, and there is, as far as the physical protest goes, there is no Aragalaya anymore. The physical protest, as in people gathering and really shouting and, you know, setting up that physical presence. So do you think that what was demanded then, the change, has been achieved, and that's part of the reason why people are not out and about in the street, you know, really protesting like what we saw 2 years ago? Your time starts now.
It does not change. Certainly it has not changed. But as you said, starting from Aragalaya you are talking about, but before that also in 2015, what happened, Charlotte? Because we changed the system and appointed two people, that is President as well as the Prime Minister in two political parties. They came together and they wanted to change. And they want to bring the people who have ruined the country to the books. So, but ultimately what happened? They couldn't get together and they couldn't do anything. Then what happened to the security of the country? And then thereafter, it had collapsed. Thereafter, another, not a politician, a person came forward and we thought that he is going to do miracles. So that is why what he expected, more than the people gave him the vote and mandate, 69.9 million. So that whole collapsed because he couldn't go forward. So that is why we say now this particular Aragalaya came in, they thought that they can do something. What is the purpose of Aragalaya? As we know that there were a lot of problems in the country, especially because we don't have a lot of essential things to the people. That's why they came to street to show their grievance. We know very well that the Jubilee Kanuwa Jubilee Post, and they got together and they were protesting. That is only a protesting because they want to show their grievance and they want to show their protest. But what happened? Some people, politically motivated people, they were preparing to have a commotion like that, and they entered in and they started doing unnecessary, unwanted, illegal thing. So then it continued, and thereafter we saw people gathering in various ways and came to Golface, and thereafter this Aragalaya, so-called Aragalaya. But there was no leader there. In various political discussions, we asked who is a leader of that particular group. They said, we don't have a leader. Can you believe, without a leader, how can you march forward to help the country? Only to protest, they can say it is, we don't have a leader. But to go forward from there, they somehow or other, they wanted to chase the president. That's all. Thereafter, what happened, they don't know.
But Mr. De Silva, now, when you say that the Aragalaya had no leader, now I think it's anyone could really imagine themselves, gathering with a group of people, and if they are all of a sudden asked, choose a leader from amongst yourselves. I mean, even if there is a small group of maybe even 5 people, there will be no consensus on who the leader should be. Let's take Sri Lanka for an example. Sri Lanka is a country that has had democracy almost since its inception. We have a history of many, many 100 years, but right now we don't have a clear leadership in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's political parties don't have leaders. Look at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, what has happened there. Look at the SLPP, what has happened there. There are no leaders. So do you think it's really fair, on your point, or from your perspective, or at least from the perspective of those who joined the Aragalaya and really protested and, just as you said, voiced their grievances, to ask them, okay, now you are protesting, you don't have food, you don't have gas, you don't have a way to live, tell me who your leader is. You think that's a fair question?
Suddenly you can't have the leader. Suddenly you can't have that.
Exactly.
But in all the political parties, there are leaders. But whether they are being accepted or not, and at this juncture, whether they are going to give a certain person a leadership is the issue. So that does not mean that there are no leaders. But we can't, in fact, we can't identify a proper person at this juncture before the election. So when the election comes, and as you said, president election is the first one, and though they talk about the parliament election also, but we know very well, according to the constitution, the presidential election is due. So for that purpose, there should be a leader coming forward. We can see in the accepted political parties, they have their leader, but that leader is capable of running the country is a different matter. That does not mean that Aragalaya they will come up with a leader. No, I am not believing that. And they don't want to have the parliamentary system. They never thought of that. What they want is somehow they send the president illegally, and then they want to chase him, and thereafter they want to grab the power. So who is going to, from that point onward, who is going to lead the country and do the beneficial thing to the people? That was the issue there. Now at this stage also, we know that a lot of people are discussing about their political parties who are our leader. So that is why I personally believe at this stage we don't have a proper leader. That's perfectly right. But we have to have a leader if you want to go forward. I don't know, with this political system, we can have a political leader to march forward and do better things to people.
Thank you very much, President's Council UR De Silva. I now move my attention to Dr. Ajit Amarasinghe, Chairman of the United Republic Front. Dr. Amarasinghe, speaking about bringing this fundamental political change in Sri Lanka, there needs to be change among the general public as well. We've seen it to a certain degree, as far as those who came before me, my father's generation and the generations that preceded that. There was this trend where they would vote for one single political party their entire life, despite what that political party has done, simply referred to as Kapuat Nil, Kapuat Kola. But that system at least seems to be changing. So what's your take on bringing fundamental political change here in Sri Lanka? You've come forward now with a fresh political front, the United Republic Front. But the only issue is all of these new parties, new alliances, new coalitions are coming from the existing political leadership. So the argument, or at least the contention that a lot of people have is this the same old wine in new bottles? Your time starts now.
Yes. Arishal, we have to discuss this issue in depth. As you correctly said, from our previous generation to this generation, the country has changed. And we have not realized how it has happened and why it has happened. Now, fundamentally, what has happened during the past 4 decades is that there has been a sharp rise in GDP of this country, and per capita income has gone up from 1990 to 2020 by about 3 times, from $4,000 to 12,000. So similarly, during that period, there has been a social change in the country, which I think our politicians have not realized, our political parties have not realized. The main change that has happened during the past 4 decades is that the middle class, which was 20% in 1990s, has gone up to 70% now in this country. And we have the largest middle class in South Asia as a percentage. Now, similarly, what has happened is that when the middle class has grown up, with that, they have come out with their own desires to change the system. Previously, what happened was that the percentage of people who had those desires to change were of a small number. No, they are of a large number. They want to bring out a change in the political culture, social culture, and also economic front. They need changes. So these changes have been in their mind for last probably 1 or 2 decades. And though we think that the change was needed, as Mr. U.R.D. Silva said, in 2014, actually this change was in the mind of this growing middle class during the past 2 decades. After the war ended, the next thing which came to the minds of these people is to change the country. Change the country in the social front, political front, and the economic front. But none of the leaders who led the country, who were elected by this large middle class, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa in 2009, and Mr. Maithripala in 2014, and Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2019, were not able to make this change. So this frustration of the middle class, large middle class, actually culminated during the period of the economic crisis. There was a need for a change, and then the need was exploded due to the shortages of fuel, gas, electricity, and other goods. So that is what we saw as the external Aragali. Right. The real Aragali is in the minds of the people of this country, and it has not ended. If anybody thinks that the Aragali has ended, that is actually a total detachment from the reality of the country. People still want a change, but it's not externally manifested. It manifested as an external thing during that short period of time, but I will discuss in the future as to how it would happen in the future. Now, there are many instances in the world when there has been a change like this in the social structure, as I explained, the growing middle class or growing poor or growing rich, the people would want to make a change in the country. The quantitative change has to become a qualitative type of a change. So then that would come as a manifestation, as a revolution, social change, and in our country it has happened as a Aragon. But this can go on for decades until the desired change in the minds of people happens. So what the politicians and political parties of this country have to decide is to whether they should go along with this change or whether they should remain behind and go into the dustbin of history. So that is the choice the politicians and the political parties have to make. Now, what we see now is a very volatile political situation. Political parties are changing, people are changing their minds, but this is what happens in a time of a social change. So this can go on for another 1 decade. Governments may come, they may fall, people may throw them out, presidents will come. So when it comes to this type of change, nobody will obey the law sometimes. Things will change as they should happen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amar Singh. A very logical and qualitative analysis of the situation. We will get into it more deeply as we progress in our discussion. I now move my attention to Attorney at Law Nuwan Bopage, representing the Frontline Socialist Party. Now, when we speak about bringing about fundamental political change in Sri Lanka, there are those who moot the argument, I believe, including your political party as well, as to which way should we lean. You know, is it a more socialist kind of country? Because technically Sri Lanka is the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. So in the name there in itself, we are quite undecided yet as to which side we are going. We have been following capitalistic policies for quite an extended period of time. The world in itself is a capitalistic world. So against all of these factors, the internal factors and the external factors, when we kind of speak about the vision that the Frontline Socialist Party and of course parties along your political inclination have regarding Sri Lanka, since all cards are on the table now, people are looking for change. So why do you think that the vision of the FSP and that kind of an economic model, a social model, a political model along those lines is more suited for Sri Lanka than the model that we already have? And why should that be the case instead of just, you know, slightly changing the model that we have right now, but instead going for a complete change in Sri Lanka's societal fabric? Your time starts now.
Yeah, Shan, of course. Now, the topic that you suggest today is whether we can go for a system change through a political change. Of course, throughout the history, now we know as to how we attempted to change the system. Now, currently the election mode is once again on. Various political parties now bring in their policies, their agendas to the surface. And we know that there are certain discussions, social media and Facebook, certain political parties inviting for public debates for their leaders. And we know New Year festival was there, New Year season, how they are going to distribute certain things among the people. So same thing, once again, the same drama now is in front of us. Now, when you suggesting this topic, I think in your mindset also that might be there. Because now through the elections, these political parties are giving same promise to the people, give us power, vote us, then we will be able to change the system.
We'll solve all of your problems.
Exactly. Now, I think Mr. Yuadi Silva actually attempted to give his interpretation to the Aragale. While keep it in my mind, what we are suggesting, merely because you have changed faces, merely because you have given power to a specific political party, that won't change the system. That is the experience We have been experiencing this for last 5-6 decades. Why I am saying that? System change might, as you also asked that from the beginning, system change should be always part and parcel with economic change. The entire economic system should be changed. I think there won't be any debate. The entire system, entire country depend on the economic culture and the economy of the country. Now, when we go through whatever policy statements of these political parties, now currently certain political parties actually started their political campaign. What they are suggesting, now the IMF proposals are in front of us. Ranil Wickremesinghe implementing that. More or less all these political parties pro-IMF. So they are saying, yes, this is the only solution for us. Indian intervention is very high. Indian companies, Adani, Ambani, they are coming and they are purchasing our assets. More or less all the political parties are in agreement with that. As far as the people are now, 2 days ago, Asian Development Bank made a statement that next year they forecast that Sri Lankan economic growth will be 2.5%. Now, just before the election, that is their statement. The economy is concerned now, some certain India and other groups are going to say now our economy is stable. But when we carefully go through the lifestyle of the people, the poverty level has been increased from 3 million to 7 million. Before 2023, only 3 million only below the poverty line. Now it has been increased to 7 million.
I think there was a World Bank report that highlighted.
Exactly. Unemployment rate is very high. So when we go to the normal situation of the country, when you go to the how the people are living, it's very clear the standard of the people drastically gone down. They are suffering. So whatever indications given, whatever indicators give certain interpretation, the actual situation we have been experiencing. So what we are suggesting, if you really want system change, this entire system, entire structure should be changed. Merely because you change the faces, nothing you could gain. So why we are suggesting that, now during the Aragalaya, it's very clear, people have given clear indication that election is not the only mode of change in the politics. But without using any single stone, people through their struggle change that political that political leadership. At the same time, if somebody is going to say that Aragalaya did not have any leadership, I vehemently objected that. Of course, Aragalaya had a leadership. That leadership is not only a face. There's a program. The Aragalaya suggested the program. What is the motive of that program? That program said, if we really want to change this system, instead of this representative democracy, we have to implement participatory democracy. What it does mean? Actually, this country is concerned 8.5 million working class here in Sri Lanka. They are only maintaining this economy. They are only handling this economy. They are only taking the burden of the economy. But when it comes to the decision-making table, at the decision-making point, these segments, the working class doesn't have any power of the decision-making process. Around 5% of the population only taking decisions. Now, Ranil Wickremesinghe, he has his own group. They only taking all the decision about the country. Other political parties also same. Now they have their economic group or whatever. Now there are various names they are using. However, that segment only taking all the decision in respect of that 8.5 million of working class. So that is the issue. Can in the tea sector, the people who are going and pick that tea plant have any right to take decision? Whether the farmers have any power to take decision in farming, whether the students and teachers have any power to take part in the decision-making process of the education. No. So that is the actual issue in this country. And the social disparity, 5% of the population is handling the 65% of the economy. That is the actual issue. Unemployment rate is concerned, inflation is concerned. All these things are creation of the capitalism. this neoliberal economy, as long as we are not eradicating this social disparity and these kind of attributes of the capitalist system, we can't get any solution to the existing economic system. Rather, there won't be any system change unless you change this existing uncouth economic system. So therefore, what we are suggesting, election is one of the mode of people to express their democratic rights. We can't, for a moment, we can't reject that. At the same time, what we are suggesting, don't think even after the election, whoever comes to power, they don't give them blank check to change your system. You take over power. You should fight for a system change, merely because on the election date you go to the election booth and you vote. That won't change anything in your life. Day-to-day life, you exercise your democratic rights. That is the only way that you can have a system change. That is what we are saying.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Nuwan Bopage. Finally, for the opening statement, I turn my attention to President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya, former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and former Chairman of the BOI. Now, President's Counsel Jayasuriya, you've been a part of Sri Lanka's political game, let's say, for quite a long time. You've held high positions as far as government appointment goes, and you've also stood on the side of the people, on the side of the opposition at certain times. So in your many years of experience here in Sri Lanka, do you think that fundamental political change is more possible now than it ever was in the past? And if so, why?
Well, political change is something that if you interpret as to what a political change is, that's the change of a regime. Well, we are on the eve of a election, so there is going to be a political change at some point of time. So as far as our
if
topic
I may
of...
just interject, sir, when I say political change, I don't mean change in a political party, as in a different political party coming into leadership or anything of that. What I questioned you was on fundamental political change.
Yes, but what we are discussing as a fundamental political change is finally our objectivity is focused on a system change. That's a final result that we are hoping to achieve. If you are going to, everyone is talking about a system change. That's what was spoken at the Aragale. That's what's been spoken of by the political parties, ruling party and the government party, with the opposition parties. Everyone is talking about a system change. But the people of this country, 22 million people, at least out of which more than 13 million people are voters, they do not know what this system is going to change to. So I think we have to take this, even this discussion as far as this panel is concerned. There are three of us who are lawyers and another professional doctor. Our forte is being practical, being down to earth. We talk of something that should be understood better by the people of this country, rather than making it more academic and then more theoretical. We must talk the nitty-gritties and the do's and the don'ts, and then what can be done and how it can be done, and then what are we going to achieve at the end of the day. So in that, I think it is incumbent on all political parties to spell out what are they going to change the system to, and firstly identify what is going wrong, what has gone wrong, where is it going wrong, and how it should be corrected. I think the fundamental thing that if you are talking about for a system change is, for any country, we are talking about democracy. Democracy is not something tangible. But the first thing in that role of democracy is the rule of law. So when you are talking about rule of law, that has so many aspects of it. Those wrongdoers should be brought to book. Those decisions of the government or the interaction with the government by the people must be directed the right perspective. There are various institutions that have been set up, like the Bribery Commission, like the courts of law, then the other institutions like the Police Commission, and there are so many other institutions that deal with the public. How are they to conduct themselves? Let's take another, going into little more detail. I'm not trying to make my presentation theoretical. I'm being more practical. That has been my style from the very beginning. Now, let's talk about corruption. We hear every party is against corruption. I'm sure even Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa will say, I'm against corruption. He'll raise both his hands. Right? But what is he saying? What is corruption, and where are the institutions that are there that have been set up to fight corruption? We have the Bribery and Corruption Commission. We have, of course, the Court of Law. Courts can act only what is being brought to the court by the Bribery Commission or by the Attorney General's Department. Now we have a situation on all practical stuff. We have a situation where a complaint has been made. I just take an example with regard to the incident of purchasing Greek bonds. A complaint has been made in 2011, and today is 2024. A complaint that was made in 2011, indictment is being presented today after 13 years. Is everything fine? Is that what we want? I think that there must be a commission appointed to probe the Bribery Commission as to what happened there. Why they took 13 years to inquire into one case, one complaint. We find people go there and they make complaints, come out and they may have voice cuts and all that. You know, they are very happy and then walk away and then their faces appear on the TV and so on. Take another incident. I think at least 5 years back, at least four years back, I think Airbus made a complaint saying that they have paid $2 million to a designated person. A name was given there. Name was given. I think at that time the president was Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He immediately referred it to the Bribery Commission. Up to this date, nothing is heard of it. Nothing is. This is the kind of system that we expect. What are we talking about democracy? What are we talking about transparency? What are we talking about rule of law? I mean, we should be ashamed as a country. When this kind of thing happens in this country, will any investor look at this country to come and park their dollars in this blessed Sri Lanka? We are talking so big about our country. A country blessed with so much of natural beauty and all that tourism attraction. But not a single foreigner is going to come to park $1 here because of this corruption. Ministers are taking bribes publicly. More than even the minister, the public servants are taking bribes all over the place. Nothing is happening. So we have to change this system. Say, as lawyers, we have got together, a group of lawyers, we have presented some proposals. We have said that the Bribery Commission, whatever the, I'll go into details in the second round, so since there are time constraints, unless we change, exactly say, this is how we are going to change the system, I would expect the people to disbelieve anyone who says we are against corruption, we are going to catch the rogues. Disbelieve anyone and everyone unless they spell out and they say how are they going to do it. Now this is the system that we have. 43 cases were withdrawn. 43 bribery cases were withdrawn on the basis that the 3 commissioners have not signed the indictment. Now, at a certain point of time, the commission has been satisfied that there was a prima facie case and the indictment was forwarded. They were withdrawn. And mind you, these are all sensitive cases against politicians. Not a single case, to my knowledge, maybe 1 or 2 would have been refiled. As far as I'm concerned, I have not heard any case have been refiled again. What is this? Is this the system that we want? Are we not going to change the system? How are we going to change this system? I'll tell you in the next round.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya. A very very important point, of course, in our conversation as we progress to the next round. That is the questions from our journalists. On my right, of course, we've got Consultant Director, Newsfirst, Niresh Eliathambi, and on my left, journalist Naveksha Gunasekara. But before we cross into the next round, we have a short commercial break. We'll bring you more interesting details on how we can change the political fabric here in Sri Lanka after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Face the Nation.
Jones Gold Blend Tea for life's every moment.
Every Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Tune in to Shakti TV.
Jones Gold Blend Tea for life's every moment. Singharaja, Sri Lanka's precious world heritage.
Welcome back. You're watching Face the Nation. Our discussion today is centered around how to bring fundamental political change in Sri Lanka. There are some politicians who change their political parties for principles, but then there are those who change their principles for political parties. But today we are discussing how we can bring about fundamental change in the political fabric here in Sri Lanka, the system change that many have been calling for in this country. So we had our opening statements from our esteemed panel of guests, and now we open the floor for questions from our journalists, as I introduced them before. On my right, Niresh Eliathambi, and on my left, Naveksha De Silva. So why don't we start off with you, Niresh?
Thank you, Charlotte. My first question is to Mr. Nuwan Bopage. You spoke of participatory democracy, but how is the public supposed to participate when we don't have a single local council in operation now? And here's an example. A couple of days ago we saw in the media some MPs have requested duty-free permits, and it's a question of here we go again. We see this before every election. They want their duty-free permits. And at a time when the government is cash-strapped, needs more revenue, it's criminal to ask for something like this. But how is the public supposed to voice their concerns when, I mean, are people supposed to march to Colombo on this? They can't. It's not practical. They can't reach the members of parliament because the members of parliament are mainly in Colombo. So they should be able to walk to their neighborhood Pradeshya Sabha member, knock on his door and say, I'm against this. Tell your party hierarchy that we are all against it in this village or this town. But they can't do that. There are no councillors, there are no Pradeshya Sabha members. So isn't it a fundamental requirement that there should be local government elections as soon as possible?
Yeah, but the issue is this now. Let's assume that these councils are in operation. Still, during the period these councils were in operation, whether the people had that democracy, people had that sound. So what we are suggesting, no, that is not merely because that these provincial councils and other councils are in operation, that won't be the only solution, which now the issue that people are facing right now. What we are suggesting now, we are actually with this existing system, what we are told, during the election you go and cast your vote, thereafter certain people will be appointed to these seats, then they will rule you until the next election. So that is a general perception. Now what we are saying, no, we have to break that, because you have to exercise your democratic rights day-to-day life. Otherwise, now during the goal phase Aragale, the goal phase suggested there must be a constitutional amendment including right to recall. What it does mean? Now during the parliament, at the date of the parliamentary elections, once you appoint a member to the parliament, for next 5 years, he is a parliamentarian. So he do whatever he wants. He do whatever corrupted act what he can do. So whereas during that 5-year period of time, there's no check and balance with the people. Now even this current, we also went to law college. What this capitalist law, the capitalist law, what teaching us, check and balance always should be within executive, legislature and the judiciary. Now that is what we are told. But what we have believed, no, check and balance always should be people and the executive, people and the legislature, people and the judiciary. Otherwise, these executive, now what we, recently there are few draconian laws were passed. ATA, anti-terrorism bill now going to be passed, and online safety bill was passed. Now this has been passed by the parliament. But we know those are draconian laws. There's nothing the people could gain from these laws. But it has been passed by this parliament which doesn't have any mandate. Now Mr. Jayasuriya said he is believing rule of law. That's a fundamental concept, what we were told. But after you pass the draconian law like OSCE, should we respect that law? Is that rule of law? That's why what always there is an error. Now Adam Smith economic policies are there. Can we, with this crisis, can we accept that as it is? We are trying to just continue these concepts of rule of law. We are just going to continue these concept of legislature, executive and judiciary as it is. No, if we are actually believing in system change, the proper system change is we have to rethink about these concepts.
But then, Mr. Bope,
we have to rethink about this concept. Yes.
Since you referred to President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya and what he said about being practical, now what you're suggesting is radical change. What you're suggesting is radical change, that we rethink, even the very, very basic concepts that forms the fundamental of our societal structure, to change all of those. Not representative democracy, but participatory democracy, direct democracy, if you will. So how do you plan on doing this?
Exactly. Even during the goal phase struggle also we discussed this. What is the method? So now we have faced the I think this economic crisis we faced recently was that unprecedented economic crisis. With that, actually we were compelled to think about a new system, think about new system change. That's why the goal phase suggested a system like People's Councils. People's Council means when whatever decision making process, there must be a mechanism that people to take part in that decision making process. So you just not giving power to parliament to take all the decisions. If parliament is taking certain decisions, for example the fertilizer policy, when the Gotabaya Rajapaksa was taking this fertilizer policy, did he consult the farmers? No. Now we have to rethink about a new system, how we take the participation of the farmers when they are taking any policy decision in respect of farm. So we have to rethink about system like that. Now we talk about the corruption.
But Mr. Bopage, now since we are coming up to an election and people have to decide on who they are electing, whose plan they are going to endorse, this new system that you speak of, where is it right now? Is it in the we are thinking of the new system stage, or we've thought of the new system but haven't made the plan stage, or we've thought of the system, we have made the plans, and here's the plan, please endorse it stage? Which stage is it at?
That's why we suggest people now. Election will be coming. We don't know even sometimes what Ranil Wickremesinghe do. So he may postpone the election. We don't know. But now there is a trend that parties are getting ready to election. What we are saying, during the election, just go through their policy statement. What if these political parties are ready to practice this power with the people? If there is a continuation of the struggle, what people during the Aragale, what people thought, they want to expand the democracy. They want power to the people, power beyond the parliament. Whoever is willing to do that, you have to rethink about that, and you have to rethink about the policies like that. But now we have seen that these certain political parties now already started their campaign. What they are saying, you give power to our leader, you give power to our political leaders, we will do the change. What we are saying, don't give blank checks again. We have that experience for last 5 decades. Don't give blank checks again. You should get ready to fight in your day-to-day life for democracy, to exercise the democracy, rather than giving power to one particular political party or one group of people.
So, Mr. Bopage, now you and the Frontline Socialist Party, most of the time when your party or a member from your party comes and sits in any of our programs, I have noticed that you always speak of social disparity. And just now also before you mentioned about poverty and unemployment and all sorts of other issues that prevail in Sri Lanka. But we never see real active plans on how you as a party propose on things we can do to overcome these issues. Most of the time what we see are issues are highlighted, but the other parties would come and they'd have a manifesto, they'd have plans. Okay, this is what we're going to do if we get power. But when it comes to the Frontline Socialist Party, we always see disagreement. And earlier also you said the other parties are going ahead in supporting the Adanis and the Ambanis and all sorts of other Indian investors. But maybe they do it because they want to see some sort of progress. But when it comes to your party, what is the plan? You speak of poverty, you speak of unemployment. How do we overcome all these issues? You can go and protest all you want, but where are the active solutions?
Yeah, actually, protest is one mode of winning certain political rights, freedom of the people. For example, during the, there was a Saitam struggle regarding the education rights of the students. That certain student movement, the IUSF and other movements fought against the Saitam. It's a fight, but within that fight, there was a framework how to protect the public education system. Ultimately, students were benefited out of that. Certain public faculties were open for medicine. So, struggle is one part of giving a solution for the people. At the same time, as far as our party is concerned, there is a party program. We are believing a socialist system. We think through a socialist system only we can eradicate this social disparity. So therefore, my direct answer is, as a party, there is no any ambiguity. We are straightforward. We believe through a socialist system only we can change the system. So if we want,
definitely.
Let me. Yeah.
According to my friend, now it is a good proposal, but only thing is, can we implement with this constitution?
Yeah.
Remember this. Now, 1978 constitution is still there, and the president has the power to that, and we are going for that election and appoint a president, which we say that he should govern the country. So thereafter we say, no, we must not give him the power. We must have some other constitutional council. What have they done? Constitutional Council,
People's
what
Council.
they have done?
I don't think he was speaking about elected representatives.
Can I? Yeah.
Of course, Dr. Ahmed.
Now, Nuwan suggested something, and Mr. U.R. De Silva said that it's a good proposal. I don't think it's a good proposal. right? It is a failed proposal. It is a proposal that has been implemented in some countries 100 years back and failed. What basically Mr. Nuwan Bopeki is suggesting is that give power to people, establish councils in workplaces, in farms, among the farmers, among the workers, and so that you give power directly to people. Now, this is what was established in 1917 in Russia as Soviets. Basically, what he is suggesting is to establish in Russian language, which was called Soviets in Sri Lanka, which at some time the party came out with the proposal of Janasabha. Right? Now, this system failed. Initially, the power was given to workers, initially the power was given to farmers, but there was no proper representative election, and there was only one political party in those countries. Right? There were no multiple political parties. Ultimately, what happened was within 20 years, a dictator came into power. Right? All the Soviets were mere instruments of implementing what the dictator wanted to do. So this is what he's suggesting. It's a failed system. It's already tried and failed system. Whether we can implement in our country through change of constitution is immaterial. It's a failed system. That is one.
Let me.
Yes, of course.
I have listened to all three of them now. And the last response. Anyway, Mr. Bopagi also started by saying that there is no mechanism to challenge as far as rule of law is concerned. There are draconian laws like the social media bill and the anti-terrorism bill and so on. That is why we have already proposed in our 116 proposals that we have come out
from the Samagi Janabalavi.
On the 11th of February, we have presented it to his leader, which he has said that he has adopted these proposals into his manifesto, where post-legislative challenge is going to be incorporated. Now, my friend UR was saying that there must be constitutional changes. Yes, of course. Constitutional changes should be brought, not to gather power, all the power to myself, to the president, but for this kind of progressive changes, where if at the beginning what the Supreme Court will be going into be only to see whether that has any violations with the Constitution, it is consistent with the constitutional provisions. But once it is put into practice, after some time, if the people are getting harassed by a certain piece of legislation, they should be given the power to go and challenge that law. So that we are proposing to be incorporated. But I don't for a moment raise my hands in favor of a situation where the laws are there, but you take the liberty upon yourself and then go and violate the law. No, we have to fall within the law. Fall within the law. But there may be very, very exceptional situations like Aragale, which I wholeheartedly supported. There's no question about that. But that's very exceptional. It can't be done every day. We have chased a president who was democratically elected, no doubt about it, but he became such a curse to the nation. I think their own party people agreed with that. So these changes have to be brought in for the sake of the people. Wherever the constitution has to be changed, it has to be changed. Now, if it is corruption, yes, we are proposing that bribery commission, whatever the complaint that will be made to the bribery commission should be investigated within 3 months of the complaint. Within 3 months. And if they fail to complete the investigation within 3 months, he can make an application to the magistrate. Maximum, they can take another 3 months more. 1 month, 1 month, 1 month.
But
and once that is done,
with all due respect to the bribery commission, also we have also staffing issues and
all that
lack
is
of resources.
All that is addressed.
Not just the individuals who
are
present.
even the expertism should be brought into the bribery commission.
Exactly.
Now that the economy crash case, Dr. Mahim Mendis and Atulisiri Samarakon and Nevis Murad, they made the complaint to the bribery commission. They went there with the complaint, with a bundle of papers. Some cop started going through it and then he didn't understand head or tail out of it. He said, what is this? What are you talking about? They told the cop who was supposed to be investigating, look, your commission has sent me a letter saying that we have gone through your complaint, we have decided to inquire into it. That is why we are here with all the papers. Now you are asking me, what is the complaint you are trying to make? I don't understand. What is the crime that has been committed? So that is why we are also suggesting that all the professional associations, like the Bar Association, medical associations are there, the Chartered Accountants Institute is there, all that professionalism can be drawn in. It's a matter of course they will be there, free of charge. We can have a panel appointed by those respective associations. And also the government to provide all the necessary budgetary provisions for them to get all the modern technology that should be brought in there. I don't think they have a recording system where when a discussion is going on with two people, for them to be hearing that at a particular distance. I don't think they have any mechanism of that nature. But these are modern equipment that are used in any other country. So they have to be brought in. We are proposing all that to be done. And also, if the complaint is in respect of some value more than 5 million rupees, it should be heard by a trial at bar. And no days will be granted. It should be heard day to day. Day to day. Senior lawyer appear in this court, that court, and the other court. No. Only if the lawyer is dead, yes, you can get a date. Or if the lawyer, some family member is dead, or something, you can get a date. That's all. Otherwise, there are so many capable juniors in our profession who can go and conduct the case. They should be given that opportunity. That's the next level of expertise that will come forward. So it should be day-to-day trial. And thereafter, there will be only a... So, and also, we might be short of judges. If it is a trial at bar, then take the retired High Court judges, the experienced judges, and they should be selected not by the executive, but by the Constitutional Council. They can be recommended by maybe the Bar Association and so on. But they must be independently, they must be totally independent. And they should be going to these cases. And also all these 43 cases that have been withdrawn should be refiled. So like that, we are very specific about these changes that we want brought in, including the changes of law, and also how you change it. Even the law that is there in the book can be challenged. There is a modus operandi that has been explained and then placed before the people, and that should be brought in. And people, when they vote, they must, I'm not here on a political platform, but they must vote for the policies. Not only the policies, but the nitty-gritties. A, B, C, D. If every party will be saying we are all against corruption. No. Every party will be saying we are going to catch the rogues. So you can't vote. No?
But Mr. Jayasuriya, now when we say vote for policies, even at the previous election, let's take the political party that won. It was the SLPP. They gave a policy document. They named it the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor. Now that policy document had promises including, provisions, of course, for school children, for the fertilizer policy to be implemented over the course of 10 years, then for state revenue to be increased, for salaries of state employees to be increased. But people voted for those policies, for those promises, whatever you would like to call them, and they were not implemented. So then, in such a situation, what's the point in voting for parties' policies if they're not going to be implemented?
That's a very good point. They must be made accountable. They must be not only made accountable, but also as far as fundamental rights applications are concerned. If any party, any official, any politician, any minister, or even above, has been faulted by the Supreme Court, the apex court, he shall be deprived of his civic rights. He shall be deprived of his civic rights. Now these are changes in law that we are proposing that should be brought in. Right? And also now see, there are instances so many instances where public officials, they have taken law into their own hands and then they have violated the law. And the courts hold that they have violated the fundamental rights of that particular party.
Courts hold that they've shocked the conscience of court and that they are not fit to hold public office.
But that's it.
But that person is reappointed.
Not only reappointed, he's given a promotion. Not only is reappointed, he's given a promotion. I think we should be ashamed of a system like that. Such people being appointed, irrespective of a judgment of the apex court, have been faulted some in certain instances have been faulted for having tortured in a heinous manner, tortured people, young people, and they have been appointed to high office. I mean, this is unbelievable. And also the Constitutional Council should be, the power of the Constitutional Council should be more professionals and less politicians. And also, it's not a question of just appointing. They should also be able to go into their conduct. They should also be able to receive complaints against such people who have been recommended and appointed by them. Otherwise, at the moment, the system that we have is just they are appointed, and after that, they have no more role to play. So they must have that power given by a change of law, maybe in even the Constitution. And these are common issues that I think all parties should come to a consensus, where if certain things are going wrong, they must be called up. They must be called up, and then they must be examined, and then they must be removed. They must be given that power to remove.
Those things that Paul said is correct things that we should apply. But only thing is, with this constitution, how are we going to appoint people? Now, the people who are coming with money and then they ask the vote, and PR system is there. So how are we going to elect the correct people, the correct professionals?
I think there is a discussion on amending the election laws also. But before we get into that, I think it's only right. I think it's only right that since Mr. Bopage initiated the right to respond now, so you can take this opportunity.
No, before he responds, just one thing about you are saying that you have to change the constitution. Yes, of course. That is why Gotabaya Rajapaksa was given the 2/3 majority to change it. So what did he do with it?
No. We believe now he is also coming like the same thing. So whether these
power
people,
himself,
correct people will be elected is the issue.
Yes,
ultimately, today we are discussing regarding a system change. System change is a broad idea. Now, all these, my learned friends and doctor, all these suggested some sort of reforms to the existing system. Now, we have ample of experience, this doesn't work. Merely because if the structure is bad, until you break the structure, whatever liquid you put inside this, take the same shape of this structure. So if we are not breaking this structure by way of a new constitution, by way of a new system like People's Council, this won't work. Now, for example, now we talked about the professionals. Vijaydas Rajapaksa is a professional. GLP Rees is a professional. This parliament is concerned, the majority are professionals. What happened to
mostly lawyers?
Most of are lawyers. What happened to these countries? I am not going to take so. Merely because you put the professionals to this parliament, intellectual this parliament, that won't change. I think partly Champika Ranawek also, I think engineer, professional. Now he is representing, he is opposing my ideas. He should oppose. Because he is contesting and asking to give him to power. What we are saying, no. This system won't work. You should not give only power to these politicians. There must be a system, a broad system that people could participate in the democracy.
But
that's what we are suggesting.
I'd like to get your response on what Dr. Amar Singh has said regarding this system, this socialist structure that you are proposing, the fact that it was tried and it didn't quite work out in other countries. Because take, for example, even the fertilizer policy, when it was suggested by Gotabaya Rajapaksa, it was commended by several agricultural organizations, certain global organizations, saying, it's good to move away from chemical fertilizers and to organic fertilizer. But when he said, we're doing this overnight, we're going to go 100% organic, there was concern because no country in the world is 100% organic. So we need to look at all of these experiences of other countries and all of that when we take a decision. And a decision is crucial as changing our entire social setup here in Sri Lanka. So on that point, how would you respond to this system having been tried and having not been successful and having not really having much of implementation in any country across the world? How would you respond to that?
Of course, now the entire world now dominating by the capitalist system. First question we should pose, whether this capitalist system is success. Of course, there are failures, collapse of the socialist system, because now the capitalist system came forward and dominated the entire world. Let's forget this word. I think now this word has been, I think, using for over 100 of years. Let's forget this word. let's take about the concept. Is there any disagreement with us to eradicate this social disparity?
No.
I think we all are agreeable on
Yes.
We all are agreeable about the public education system, I think. We all are agreeable about the public health system. We all are agreeable people-oriented transport system. We all are agreeable. And we all are agreeable to expand the democracy. We all are agreeable if we have a chance. As lawyers, if I have a chance to participate certain decision-making process of legal education, I'm happy. If there is a process me to participate regarding the law's delays, I am happy. But currently there's no any participation. Well, Justice Minister decide everything. So what we are suggesting, if we need a system change, we need this new democratic system. Partly Champika Ranamaka might don't like that because he is asking power to him. I don't know, Mr. Yuadi Silva, currently I think most of the Rajapaksa people not saying that they are supporting that. I don't know what is his situation now. He might tell. But Rajapaksa doesn't like that. I think SJB also doesn't like Sajith Premadasa. They want power, them, to dominate the country, rule the country. We are suggesting a different thing. There are working class 8.5 million. Take them to the table of decision-making process. They will decide. That nobody can say, no, that is failure. No. Wherever they take decision, always we can say the successful. For example, in a garment factory, if the workers would participate in the decision-making process, then only we can give certain practical solution to the actual issues on the ground.
But Mr. Bopage,
Yes,
Now, I think we must confine our topic to what has to be discussed. But since there has been certain comments about the system as how to change it, I think I must comment on this. Mr. Nuwan Mopagi has got certain words confused. He has got the workforce confused with the working class. Right? Workforce of this country is 8.4 million, that is correct. I am also one of the workforces. So what is working class? Working class by the classical Marxist definition, which he, I think, believes, is a class which does not have any access to capital. Right? So that is, he has got confused about these words. That is one. Now, can I ask one? Now, what is the country in the world which has least social disparity at this moment? At least, can you name one or two? Yeah, I can tell you. Scandinavian countries are the countries where there is least social disparity. What system do they have? Do they have a capitalist system or a socialist system? Don't they have private property? They have. So that means even within the capitalist system, if there are checks and balances, as Mr. Upuljayev very correctly said, there's professionalism induced into the system. Professionalism, not the professionals. Professionalism. You can have less social disparity, more transparency, more honesty, more integrity in the system. Right? So you don't have to break this capitalist system and change it to a socialist system to bring out a change and make less social disparity. In fact, the countries which have higher social disparities now are the former socialist countries in the world. They have highest social disparity. So what we suggest in our party as our political agenda is that we actually is a party which propose social democratic policies, which is implemented in mainly Scandinavian countries and in certain Asian countries as well, such as Taiwan, Australia, South Korea. So that is the principle that we are putting forward. And also, we are a political party which is very new. We formed our political party in 2023, May 22nd. And our policies are based on mainly values. We speak of 5 values: honesty, openness, pragmatism, empathy, and the meritocracy. So whatever the country which is governed in the future, which would actually represent the aspirations of the people, should base the governance on principles. And whatever changes has to be made via this. And actually, I must thank Mr. Upul Jayasuriya for suggesting a very good legal framework to bring out this change in the country. We are agreeable. Actually, the political parties should get together and implement such good proposals. Right? For that, we don't have to change the capitalist system, so-called capitalist system, right? Which is a classic definition in Marxism. What I believe is that there are nothing called capitalist countries and socialist countries. Now what we have is are countries which have kind of a mixed system, right? Whether you have a proper governance within the system or not is a different issue. So what we have to bring is good governance into this country, and that we should do together.
Before we cross into our commercial break, I believe Niresh had a question. I apologize for interrupting.
Not at all. Mr. Jayasuriya, now speaking of going from what Doctor said, in Sri Lanka we have this family business within politics. You suddenly find 5 to 10 people from the same family in politics together, and several of them are in parliament, and they sort of form a block, and then you have several such families pooling together, and it's completely anti-democratic. Shouldn't there be a system to prevent that kind of nepotism?
Yes, we are also proposing laws that if one member is in politics, in active politics, like such as a member of parliament, there can be no second member from the same family, either father, brother, sister, mother, or something like that, to enter politics until such time that first person retires from politics and there is a cooling off period. It is so shameless that the Rajapaksa family has more than 1 dozen of family members in parliament and in active politics. There is also another, I think the speaker has about 5 or 6 immediate family members in his personal staff of about 10 people. 5 or 6 immediate family members in his personal staff. Shame. It's a shame on him. It's a shame on this country that we have such people. So we have to change this. We have to change this. And also commenting on what Doctor said a while ago, look at the closest example that we can give with regard to this, how this participatory democracy works in this working class of people in the neighborhood. We have Bangladesh, we have Vietnam. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we were the first to start the open economy after Singapore. China came after us. Deng Xiaoping, that was 1982, we started in 1978. India started it in 1983, I think during the time of Mrs. Gandhi. But Bangladesh started much later. Vietnam started even later. They studied our system. China studied our system. They came here and studied our system. Now, we are going to Bangladesh to borrow. $250 million was borrowed from Bangladesh. But their system has worked so well. But is that, do they have a participatory democracy there in that country? Does Vietnam, do they have a participatory democracy in that country? Does China, of all the countries, do they have a participatory democracy? No. So those systems have worked. Whatever you call it, I'm not calling it anything. Whether it's democratic or undemocratic or participatory or unparticipatory, I'm not calling it anything. But those systems have worked, because there cannot be, if there are 1,000 people working in a company, 1,000 people can't be taking decisions as to what's best for the company. It should be just one person. You have trust in that one person, the shareholders appoint that person as a person who should run the company. So much so, in a country If the policies that are presented by a particular political leader is acceptable to the people of that country, then those people in that country should vote for him, not otherwise. So then, because why are you electing one person to rule? Because everyone can't be the ruler. Everyone can't be telling him this is what you should be defined. We have to have trust in him. We have to have his policies presented. We must be able to accept such policies. The policies should be transparent. And also we should make the policies as we go on, we must expand this process and also make them liable and accountable for the policies that they present. There is no such law at this moment of time. But we must even go to the extent of even bringing these election manifestos as liable to be implemented. As it was pointed out, there were so many things that were said by various leaders when they were elected, but none of it was complied with. So, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa's government, they came to collect more revenue. What did he do? Within 1 week of his coming to power, he reduced the taxes, which resulted the state being deprived of 493 billion only for the first year. For the 1.5 years up to August 2021, we lost more than 650 billion. And when this decision was taken, before we incurred the loss, with this decision, illegal decision was taken, 1 week later, Fitch rating from B positive went to B negative. So immediate response was there. But what did he do? Did we make a note of it and then change the system? No. We allowed it to go on. Because that was that wrong choice by the people. They were made to be, they were duped, they were made to believe what was said to be done. It was never done. So we have to have people who can be trusted by the people, the leaders, and they must be given the power. But of course, they must also be made accountable with the policies and the principles, and also the proposals, like more than rhetoric kind of thing, saying that we are all for democracy, we are all for against corruption, we are all for private investments. Not that kind of proposals. They must say exactly how are you going to do it? How are you going to bring the dollars into this country? With this system, nobody. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Because if an investor comes into this country, every place he goes, government institution, if it is an infrastructure project, 24 approvals he has to obtain. Every institution he goes, they are asking for a bribe. Approval process will take about 3 to 3.5 years. When I was the chairman of the BOI, every month we were terminating more than 15 companies, 15 agreements. Why? They couldn't implement it. Why? Because they were asking of bribes. The most powerful tool in the BOI is the Schedule B, because the powers that are vested in certain laws are vested in the BOI Board of Directors. Exchange control law, inland revenue law, environmental law. But we must expand that. Some of it has all fallen by the wayside. Exchange control law, there is a new law, so it is not in the Schedule B. Inland revenue law, there is a new law that is not in the Schedule B, so BOI is out of that regime. So we must bring in the UDA, the land reforms, the local government laws, all the institutions, the electricity board, road development authority, they must all be brought under Schedule B. There must be a deemed approval process. Those respective line agencies should be given 2 weeks' time for them to give the approval. They don't give the approval, then they can't give the approval after 2 weeks. Then the approval process, the owners will shift to the board of directors of the Board of Investment. Then if they don't give the approval within another 2 weeks, then it should be a deemed approval. Once the deemed approval is given, if those respective agencies do not honor the approval so granted, then that should be an act of corruption. He should be charged in the competent court for corruption. Without taking the stick into the hand in Sri Lanka, nothing is going to work. So that is why all those proposals have been now made, which we made on the 11th of February, and is in print form.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya. We need to quickly cross over to a short commercial break. We'll be right back on the other side. Stay tuned. You're watching Face the Nation.
Jones Gold Blend Tea. For life's every moment.
Because this impacts every single person living in the country.
All these jokers who completely vehemently opposed it, right? And now saying, no, we are okay with them. We have to work with them. We will work with them.
All the people who have supported him for these corrupt practices have been taken in.
Because sadly, our people in this country now think that this is a protest vote, that all the major two parties have failed, and let's give a third party another chance.
Why can't the government officer be entrepreneur as well?
I believe most of political parties don't have internal democracy.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ විදිහට අපි ගොඩද
මේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති රාමුවත් මේකත් හිස් වූ රාමුවක්
නායකෙක්ට පුළුවන් අවශ්‍යයි නම් සංවේදීත් වෙලා ඒ වෙලාවෙම තාර්කිකත් වෙන්න
ජානමය හේතුත් බලපාන්න පුළුවන් ද සමහර වෙලාවට මානසික තත්ත්ව වෙනස් වෙන්න
මානසික රෝගයක් 80%ක් ජානගතයි 20%ක් එන්වයරන්මන්ට් එකේ ඉන්නේ
නින්දේදිත් සිදුවෙන ශ්වසන අපහසුතාවන් පිළිබඳ අපිට වාර්තා වෙනවා මේක ගොරවනකොට වැඩි වෙනවද
නින්දේදී සිදුවන ශ්වසන අවහිරතාවය නැත්නම් අපි මේක හඳුන්වනවා මේ obstructive sleep apnea කියන තත්ත්වය
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට
Welcome back. You're watching Face the Nation. We're in discussion about how Sri Lankans can aid and bring about fundamental political change. We've had quite a fruitful discussion ongoing. We crossed over to a commercial break and now we're back. I'd like to direct my attention to Dr. Ajit Amarasinghe, the chairman of the United Republic Front. Now, again, we speak about all of these proposals, all of these policies, and our suggestions made that we should bring certain legal provisions to make manifestos and policies enforceable before a court of law. But then again, those kind of systems are not present in other countries. In other countries, people can actually trust their politicians, at least to a certain degree, give them a certain amount of power and expect something good in return for that trust that they've placed in politicians. So do you think that is possible in Sri Lanka? Because now I believe a majority of the panelists here are asking people to go through the policies of political parties, to look at what they are saying, look at what kind of change that they are going to bring and vote on that. But what's the point in voting on that if none of that is going to be implemented? How do we get past this, this perennial question? How do we get past it?
Yeah, I think first thing a political party should understand is that there's a need for a change. Now, there are many promises in the manifestos, but our political party has come out with something very unique. Now, we believe that to bring out more than a legislation into reduction of corruption, there's a need to openness in the system. So that is very, very, very easy to implement now because there is this e-governance system. So we are proposing that everything, including financial transactions, has to be bring into a common platform which is open. Now, for example, bidding for tenders has to be an open process where every bidder can see what is going on. Now, when it comes to taxation, the taxation has to be also in an open platform, and every transaction which people do has to come into this platform so that we can always find people who are avoiding taxes. Now, even if we bring legislation to compel politicians to declare their assets. What is happening now is that the assets are not in their names.
They're in the names of companies.
Companies, where other people. So how we can avoid this is that if everything is open and if the government or the tax department can identify the tax defaulters and illegal transactions, those could be exposed. So this is a very scientific process. Our political party consists mainly of professionals who are into politics, and we believe this type of a system has to be brought in, and this has happened in other countries, so that even if a politician wants to do something wrong, it could be exposed and seen. So this has to be come into a place in customs department, excise department, tax department, as well as in major procurement proceedings. So this is a proposal that we bring in to change the system, the economic system, the way the economy is functioning in the country. That is one of the main proposals our political parties bring in, and we feel that we can implement it.
I'd like to shift my attention towards Mr. U.R. De Silva. You're usually very talkative on this show, but today you seem to be very silent.
Yeah, I was listening to all the proposals. Now you all have given the opportunity to three parties to come out with their manifestos. So ample time was given, but unfortunately, whether it can be practically implemented. Who are they going to appoint as members? Now they have to appoint members or people to vote. So are we going to vote because of the manifesto? No. Most of the people, they go through the phases and then their popularity, and then they vote. This is the system of this country. We are talking a lot.
So you earlier spoke about leadership.
Yes.
But if we're running for a presidential election, we already know that there is Sajith Premadasa contesting, there is Anurakumara Dissanayaka, and maybe partly Champika Ranamaka. So don't you think any of them are suitable to be in that position of leadership?
No, I say that out of the four, we have to elect somebody, So if they are coming forward, those four are coming forward, we have to decide on that without going through all these things that are there, and then we are imagining these things, because we believe Gotabaya Rajapaksa. So when you go through this, his manifesto, I think one of the best manifestos, Viatmaga and all these people were there. And if you go through it carefully, it has a lot of good proposals. And here also, Samagjana Balavege, they have put forward good proposal, which I endorse. And my doctor also stating the good proposal. But my concern is that presidential election is different. Now, we have to choose one of those people as our president. As you asked, then what about the parliament? So we have to go to parliament system also. The parliament, if they are selecting people, the same sort of people who will come with different attire and ask for vote, when we vote for that. That's why I say, with this constitution, 1978 constitution, can we have those good proposals? I say good proposal, and my doctor said one proposal is good proposal. I said good proposal to his imagination, but can we implement that with the new constitution? We can't do that. That is impossible thing. So he always talk about impossible things.
He also spoke about people coming in actively participating. But one thing that people can do is cast their vote to someone who is eligible to that position. That is what the people are supposed to do. You are given that task of voting in the right people.
That's correct, yes. So now, they have to choose a person to go to parliament and do on behalf of them things that are necessary on behalf of them. As Mr. Jayasuriya said, all people can come together and say that we want to discuss all this. Nothing will happen. See the Constitution Council. After all, they abstain. They have no right to do that. If they are being appointed, they have to go through it and say whether they are against it or they are in favor.
So you're also saying this people's participation, this People's councils will not work.
Not work.
So you're
that's a
saying
good suggestion.
too many cooks will spoil this
That's
soup.
right. No, within this constitution, we can't do that. And then we have to change the constitution, and we, as you always said, we don't want the parliament. So I don't believe that. My doctor said the correct things are there, and those things, if we are going to implement, so much the better. But do you know that once the party is coming forward, they come and say, now People's Bank has written off 54 million rupees of their loans. So who are the people who are given? The people who have supported it. They have spent money for the so-called manifestos to be implemented, and thereafter they evade paying these things. There are 4,479 tax evaders. What has they done? So are we genuine on those people? Now they might say 2015 we were not there, only this present president and then so-called president there. Now he's coming with a lot of dreams, and he was there, so we couldn't do it. That is not there because they were in the parliament. People, but they are in the parliament. So what they were doing, they were allowing those people to evade taxes. And now at the moment, these people were there without paying the taxes. Government is very easily putting forward a lot of taxes to the normal people. So without doing that, if we are in a position to collect those millions, so they are not doing that. And when they were asked to come to cope, they say, we are trying to collect those.
I mean, we can't even get some of the parliamentarians to settle their electricity bills. What are you talking about? Taxes?
That's what I'm saying. Who are we going to ask those people to implement those so-called suggestions, the manifesto? No, they are not going. They are not bothered. They will be appointed by us, and then they go. From the day we are asking, no, you are not doing correct things, and you come out. That he said, recall in the. So that is also, we have to change the constitution. We can imagine a lot of things, but without changing the constitution, we can't talk about the system change. And if we are not going to have bureaucracy, if you have bureaucracy there, if you are going to chase them, those people who are in the government servant without doing proper work, we can't get the services done. They can say a lot of things, but who are they going? Who are the people who are implementing? The government servant. They are adamant. They are bureaucrats. They are relying on FR and SR only. They are not going to do people a better thing. So that is why we have to change. From where we have to change? From the school. We have to change the education and educate them. Now in this all young people, they are talking, now these people have done wrong thing, so we are going to teach them a lesson by appointing somebody else, which we don't rely on that. So if we are going to talk loud and go beyond that, we know that these things are very important and we believe that it is correct. But who are the people who is going to implement in parliament? Are we going to select the correct people? To select the correct people, mind you, that those parties should put forward the genuine people who want to work. Otherwise, there won't be any change. Same thing, as you said, same thing we talk, and thereafter we say next election, we are coming out with the same manifestos and say a lot of things about that. But be practical. To be practical, we have to choose correct people. To do that, the political parties have the majority, the responsibility to put forward correct people. Till such time, these proposals won't be accepted or implemented correctly.
Thank you very much, President's Council Yuvar de Silva. We now move to the final session of today's program for the closing remarks, and I'd like to start off with President's Council Upul Jayasuriya, former President of the Bar Association and former Chairman of the BOI. President's Council Jayasuriya, your closing statement, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Well, we are at a very crucial junction. By the ballot, not the bullet, people are given the choice very soon, I believe. There were some expressions saying that if there is going to be a presidential election, as far as that is concerned, I must say there is no question that the presidential election cannot be postponed because with the completion of the 5-year period, the incumbent president will relinquish his office. And once his office is relinquished, the cabinet will stand dissolved. So without a cabinet of ministers, the secretaries cannot function. The secretaries will also go out of office. So there is a whole lot of changes that are going to take place. So that's out of the question. There will be elections. So we will have to get ready, and the people have to get ready, not to get just carried away by the sweet words that are going to be said in the platform. We must also examine the people when they come and then present their case before the court of the people. People must be given the opportunity to judge their performance, not just 1 year, not just 2 years, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we must judge them. What have they been doing? Have they been honest in whatever they did? Have they robbed the country? Have they killed people? Have they caused damage to the properties, public properties? All those things should be gone into. Then only the question of trust can be decided upon by the people and for them to cast their vote. So this is the important juncture that we are now facing. The people of this country are facing. I hope they will have the right choice.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel Upul Surya. We now move to Attorney at Law Nuwan Bopage, representing the Frontline Socialist Party, for his closing statement, and your time starts now.
Yeah, once Antonio Gramsci said, the old world is dying, the new world is struggling to born, but now is the time for monsters. Now we are here discussing about system change. System change is we need a replacement of new world, new system. But what the monsters are saying, who were benefited out of all the other systems, who hold the minister post during the Yahapalane, which did the most the scam, the biggest scam of the country. Now they are saying we are talking about the honesty. Who took part of the ruling period of Rajapaksa is now saying no, the Aragale is a failure. So these are the words of the monsters. What we are saying, don't believe the monsters. Now the election period, they all are opposing the new change for new world, this struggle for new world. But they are suggesting, no, let's keep this existing system like this. Let's do certain reforms. That will be the only solution. What we are saying, reforms can't do anything. We need an actual new system change. We have to change this structural error. Unless we break this structural error, nothing will be changed. They will get the minister post. They will get the other benefits from the next parliament as well. Then after another 5 years' time, they will come up with another sort of words, bureaucracy, monocracy, or whatever, come up with new beautiful words, and once again they come to the election. So what we are saying, election will be coming. We hope election will be coming. Carefully go through the statements. Whoever is talking about the people's power, who is want to empower the people, who is believing the people powers, at least think about that party, at least think about that group. Let's get together, expand the people's democracy, people's power, because the most focal, most important thing is people's power, not the power of these individual characters or individual political parties. That's what we are suggesting as Frontline Socialist Party.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Nuwan Bopage. I now move my attention to Dr. Ajit Amrasinghe, Chairman of the United Republic Front, for your closing statement, and your time starts now.
Thank you, Shalit. Now, I think I must again remind about the topic of today's discussion. Can politicians change to bring a system change? Now, we as the United Republic Front has firstly identified that there is a yearning in the society for a change, right? And we as politicians of that political party are willing to change. That is one. Secondly, we are bringing in new people. Like I'm also a new person in politics, very new, who is willing to bring out this change. And our political party believes in social democracy. That would be our way of governing this country in the future. And in fact, social democratic countries in the world are the best run countries in the world. They have least social disparity, more openness, more kind of a participatory democracy, and also a true democracy, a multi-party system, an active kind of a democracy. And honesty is expected from politicians by the system. So that is the system change that we want to bring. Secondly, there are certain things that were not discussed here. People want some kind of economic reforms in this country as well. The country has moved away from agricultural society, and people are more technology oriented, and we are willing to change the country into that. And when it comes to agriculture, we want to modernize the agriculture, bringing some kind of a smart agriculture into the country. So there are three changes that we want to make in this country: political changes into a social democratic country, a social cultural change which would be more secular country, where there will be more integration. Number three would be in the economic front, we want to bring in changes. So those are the things that we want to bring into this country, and we feel that is the change the people of this country wants.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajit Amarasinghe, Chairman of the United Republic Front. Finally, we move to President's Council, UR De Silva, Chairman of the Rehabilitation Bureau, for your closing statement. And your time starts now.
If we are not in a position to collect 204 million VAT revenue to the system, then what we are talking? System change, system change. We have to think loud and more practical things. Those politicians, when they come over here, they are expecting their permit. And nobody said that we are not going to give permits, right? So still the politicians, the people who are going behind them are expecting this permits. Not only one permit. Who is the private secretary? His wife or sister or daughter. They are also getting a permit. Do you know that? They are also getting a permit. And they are allowed to sell that permit and get revenue. So those things are corruption on the first hand. So then how are we going to call them system change? We are not in a position to do so unless and otherwise we expect people to come forward. With this system, I believe it is not happening. Most of the 225 people are there at the moment. Out of those 225 people, at least 150 are going to contest, and they will be elected. Again, those political parties, they can't say that we have new-born people. So they are asking, what is the amount you can spend? Then you will be given a ticket to contest. And how can we expect them to be there and do the need? If we have a national policy, till this election comes, the politicians that are there in the parliament, they never talked about the national policy. So if we are going to have that system change, we have to have a national policy. So all parties should get together and should have national policy. Otherwise, we are talking unnecessary thing here, because new era is no more. It will not come, and same old song. So that will happen. So that is why I say, Charlotte, we have to be honest, and we should say that we want a new country, and for that purpose, there are avenues, whether we are going to go to those things or whether we are in a dream world. So at the moment, same old song.
Thank you very much, President's Council UR De Silva, Chairman of the Rehabilitation Bureau. Thank you very much once again to all our panelists for accepting our invitation and joining us on today's program to try and shed some light and, of course, keep the general public informed during this very, very, very important period, the run-up to the presidential election 2024, where the general public will be given an opportunity to decide on their future, their children's future, and the future of Sri Lanka as a whole. Thank you very much also to Niresh Eliyathambi and Naveksha Gunasekara for asking all the right questions. Well, as we face the nation today, let me remind you that those who won independence for Sri Lanka were not cowards. They did not fear political change, and they did not exalt order at the cost of their liberties. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care and God bless.